We're going to talk about Vericle's XMR documentation system. XMR stands for Extensible Medical Records Technology, and the idea is to have the ability to very, very quickly look at a set of notes, absorb the information in the previous visit, and then quickly make a new note for the current visit by modifying information about the past visit without actually modifying the previous record. That's the most important concept in XMR, is the ability to create a new note based off of the old note. So let's look at XMR, how it works, and why it is so effective. The most important part of this is actually in the absorption of the medical record, understanding everything about the previous visit. So it turns out that there's really two ways to do this. One is to look at a narrative. For example, patient presents with pain in the left shoulder, it's throbbing pain, and so on. In other words, you can imagine that there could be a whole paragraph here that describes the complaint of the patient and then goes on to objective findings and so on. This is a very, very mentally draining activity to read a note like this and understand what it means. It's because reading is a very conscious level mental activity. It's something that is takes a lot of our conscious effort, which means we have to really focus on it in order to do it well and to retain what we're reading. The other way to look at this type of information is to block it out and look at the actual values of the note itself. In other words, we know the patient has some sort of pain. We know that it's in their left shoulder. And we know that it is a level 8. By having the information in blocks like this, I can very quickly tell that this patient has left shoulder pain that's in level 8. I don't have to parse through the rest of the sentence. I don't have to understand exactly what's going on with the order of the words. And so this turns the activity from a very mentally intensive, very conscious level activity to a very automatic activity where I could just look at this almost like a street sign and react to it very, very quickly. The idea behind this is that it takes something that takes minutes and a lot of active mental activity and turns it into something that takes seconds with very little conscious mental effort. What does that do? It means that I can do all of my notes much more quickly. And more importantly, I can really use the rest of my brain power to really focus on the patient themselves. Focus on what it is that I'm trying to achieve with the patient, how I want to take care of them, and what is my plan going forward. So half of the advantage of XMR is the ability to comprehend the previous note as quickly as possible by looking at the signs of the note, or the labels, instead of reading through consciously an entire paragraph of narrative from the previous note. The second part of XMR that makes it really effective for making the next note is that instead of starting from scratch and building another note, XMR automatically pulls in the previous visit's note for you, and it allows you to simply click into a value like this and change it to a 7 or to another value in line. What that means is that rather than thinking about creating a new note from scratch, I'm thinking about just making small changes in the current note, and the system automatically copies all the information for me and creates a whole new note and a whole new narrative out of that note. Again, for the next visit, when I'm reading this, I don't have to parse the narrative. I can just simply absorb the street signs and understand what's going on with the patient that way.